Hi there! So I've been watching the media frenzy evolve around Russell Brand and his supposedly controversial interviewing with Paxman, the Pax. And yeah, I share in common with Russell that I've never voted, and yeah, I think the political machine is horribly corrupt, and also that the big corporations produce a lot of social problems. And I respect Russell's contributions to good causes, and I think it's great that he's speaking out and perhaps making more people aware of the problems. But really, the power system has been known to be corrupt sort of since the Roman Empire and beyond, and people have been speaking out of about this for a long time, so it's not really news. But yeah, I hope more people will see the light, as it were, or the darkness, and take a more realistic view about how the world really is. And of course, the power system was created by the power elite to protect the power elite. That's the point. That's how it works. That's what it does. So really, the system's actually working very well, and I don't think it's fair to say that it's broken or not doing what it's supposed to do. It is doing what it's supposed to do, and it's for the benefit of all of those who get their foot on the rungs of the ladder. And it's been doing quite well here in the UK since the sort of the Norman conquest. The aristocracy still owns and controls much of Britain, and of course this has been going on for thousands of years. And it's a mistake to think that the power elite have empathy and a guilty conscience. The moral dilemma only really preoccupies the sort of wealthy middle classes. So how about Russell's egalitarian socialist revolution? Well, I'm not really sure what that is, and I think Paxman was quite right to kind of push Russell to come up with something, and of course Russell didn't, and sort of admitted that he basically didn't have a clue about how to create utopia, and I don't think anyone does. It's just not a realistic hope or expectation. I don't think any individual or any particular ideology has a solution to these social problems that have gone on for centuries. Now, of course, Marxian socialism, with its dictatorship of the proletariat, with the long-term goal of creating a sort of communist utopia where every need would be fulfilled and there would be no poverty, etc., has been a colossal mistake, a colossal disaster. It's left hundreds of millions of people dead, starved, and deprived. Yeah, so really, the Marxian thing is a disaster, and I mean that's socialism as we know it in the 20th century. And not even China is really clinging on to the Marxian ideology anymore. They've sold out to sort of capitalist forces and freed their markets more, and everybody's better off in China for it as well, so it's not a bad thing. Of course, Marx and socialism isn't new. It's borrowed from Christianity and sort of this idea that we should all help the low and the poor, the needy, etc. But anyway, the Marxian thing is pretty much a ghost, and thank goodness there's little life left in it. So if we're not talking about this sort of hardcore state socialism, what we're really left with, and what lefties really are talking about, is social democracy. That's pretty much what we've had in the UK since the Labour Party first got into power. It's the most common form of government now, and of course the problem the Labour Party had is they just couldn't get full socialism because of the middle class. Socialism only tends to manifest more fully in countries where you have a a massive amount of very poor people that can sort of be brought on side to follow the ideology. So in the UK we have this sort of welfareism, really just to placate the guilty conscience of the middle classes. But you know, these social democracies, and Britain's no exception, are really looking like economic basket cases. I mean, we've seen what's happened to Greece and to Spain and many other countries that are basically on the verge of financial collapse because the state is printing money and attempting to buy everybody off. It's buying off the aristocracy, it's buying off the middle classes, and it's buying off the underclass as well. It's just sort of welfareism all round, with the bill to be deferred into the future. So what about this sort of 1% vs the 99%? It's a popular sort of rhetorical statement. It's not really realistic, though. I mean, the way that the power system works is that you essentially have the people at the top, and they offer a rung up on the ladder to the guy below, and so forth down the sort of the class hierarchy or whatever. As I said, it's just about buying people off, and you're just really left with the poor below the bottom rung of the ladder, who are wading in the crud, but they're really too few in number to do anything particularly revolutionary. So it's all about getting people on board, buying them into the political process, and then of course nothing really changes. So what do the political left really have to offer other than their failed processes? Their state socialism is a ghastly horror. Their social democracy is just kind of zombie-esque. I mean, it's okay. It kind of survives and it goes on existing, but there's really no hope of a sort of a good life out of it, and a pleasant outcome for everybody. It's like the Roman Empire. It's just waiting to collapse in on the weight of its own debt and corruption. And you know, full fairness to Russell, he offers nothing new and admits that he doesn't really know what to do about this. And you see, the problem is, and you know, Russell was all about high taxes and all the rest of that, but the left just can't break their relationship with the state and the other corporations, because you can't have corporations without the state, and you can't have taxation without the state, and the state also loves the easy way it can tax corporations. You know, corporations basically suck up wealth from the people that work for them and from the customers and so on and so forth, and funnel that towards the state and the wealth elites. And it's all incestuous and ultimately threat-based. So what about Brand himself? Well, he's made most of his profits from the big media corporations and not from performances in clubs. And of course the BBC, News Corp and Comcast come to mind. And I've never seen even one programme or newspaper article in the mass media that challenges the need for a state seriously or attacks the aristocracy. So the mass media is complicit, and they've been co-opted. They're in the pockets of the political system, and the BBC, of course, makes money because the state grants an exclusive license to an authority that has this sort of special privilege of sending threats out to everyone to extort them for their TV license money. And the other media corporations also benefit from the state protection through the monopoly on airwaves and the intellectual property rights, all of which are ways of essentially extorting and giving privilege to wealthy corporations. So again, this is all incestuous, and of course the state is itself a corporation. It just happens to be one with a lot of guns and of course a more smokescreen to hide behind. And as for Russell, I don't doubt that he'll do very nicely from all this publicity. That'll up his profits, and Russell is a downstream beneficiary of the state monopoly of violence. And it's funny why the rich people think they need the state to raise taxes, like they can't give the state more of their own fortunes voluntarily. And of course they can always donate more to the needy people quite freely. I mean, the rich can do that, and often they do, and that's really great. But the state really, and the power elite and the corruption is going to stay in place as long as it can continue to grease enough palms, and those palms of course will turn up and vote come election time to legitimise the whole racket. Anyway, I think I want to end by agreeing with Russell that we do need a revolution and something altogether new and different. And I think we need a sort of a practical revolution and not a utopian fantasy. So thanks for listening, and I hope you have a very nice day.